Okay, so think of this as like the Facebook advertising tree of trust. And this is how you want to think about what guides your messaging. So, first part of the tree is you plant a seed. And then the seed grows roots. The roots turn into a trunk. The trunk grows branches, branches, then leaves, right? And then what happens? Bears fruit, right? This is when you make money from your advertising. So that paints a little picture and also makes a point about online advertising, which is that it's a process, not an event.
Welcome to Barbell Business. I'm Mike Bledsoe here with Doug Larson and Markus Gerszi. We have a special guest today, Bren Davis, Facebook advertising expert. And we had you at our last mastermind retreat where you spoke. And you actually, I didn't realize this until you told me, which was, I don't do the speaking thing very often.
Yeah.
And we were all very shocked by that because that was the best Facebook ads talk I've ever heard. Ever. And I've been attending some marketing conferences the last few years. I've seen some shit.
Been around the block a few times.
Yeah. So it was really, really good. So I'm excited to have you on today. And so if you're listening, we're going to get into some strategies around Facebook ads, and it really applies to just marketing strategies in general. But we're going to be focusing on Facebook ads specifically. So I'm excited.
Excited too, man. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. It was awesome speaking to the group, and I had a good time, man. Some good times.
What are some of the common mistakes? Let's just go through a few common mistakes that people make as business owners in general. A few of the common mistakes, and then we can start digging into some strategies to fix that.
Okay. So I'd say the first mistake, and thanks to everybody for having me here, man. It's a pleasure.
Definitely.
Actually, let's back up one real quick.
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody what your business is?
Yeah. Okay. So we do, as you may have, understood, we do Facebook advertising. So I have a Facebook advertising agency, and we advertise on behalf of other online business owners.
So people just hire you to do their ads for them.
That's right. That's what we do, right? And we also do some coaching as well. So for people that want to do it on their own, but they want guidance and direction. But basically that means that I'm staring at Facebook ads every day of the week. So the first thing when I start the work day is I look at reports from the days prior. We're in different kind of markets, different kind of businesses. So basically we see a lot of different data across a lot of different markets, and we can see what works. And we can also see the trends, and we can see how things change and how things are developing. And the thing about digital advertising is it's always changing. It's a brand new world. A lot of people don't even really understand how it works. So I'm looking forward to getting into some of the basics. So if you're listening and you are maybe confused about how digital advertising works, we're gonna help with that. But it's a complicated world, and it's always constantly changing. So for me as a person who's addicted to learning and self-improvement, it's awesome because every day I learn something new.
Yeah.
Every single day. And the second something starts working, for a while it'll start working, and then it stops when you got to learn something new. So it constantly keeps me on my toes. For that reason, it can be challenging for people. But when it works beautifully.
Yeah. What makes it fun for you, since that's what you do every day, the fact that it is changing, evolving, and growing, like you have this really interesting platform where you are constantly learning new things, and that's cool and that's fun.
Yeah.
For a CrossFit gym owner, or if it's a gym owner in general, that's a huge pain in the ass. It's the opposite. It's like they often express to me that they just wish like it would just be like one way they could figure out how to do it, and they could just do it that same way forever and have to go relearn the process all over again.
That's like the biggest complaint about it. They're like, I could have sworn I just figured it out. It worked for like a round, and then now it's not working at all, and I'm just burning money again. And so it's because of that. The target is constantly moving. So right when you think you got it, it's already changed. And there's a whole new approach.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out too is if you're watching the show right now, Bren, you're a fairly young guy, and so I don't want any assumptions that like, he's just one of one of these guys that he kind of does it, and maybe you're in your mom's basement or something. That's definitely not the case.
No.
What kind of money are you running here?
That's where he lives. It's not where his business is.
Yeah, but like, what
Living
kind
the
of
dream.
like what? I mean, you're running a lot of ads.
Yeah.
What kind of money are we talking about here? Because most gym
Yeah.
owners are in the hundreds of dollars a month, and if they're hitting $1,000 in ads, it's kind of like, oh, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, just to add a little bit of a credibility
Yeah,
boost
for
here.
sure, man. Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because there's a lot of people that are quote unquote experts at this. Everybody's a Facebook advertising expert these days, it seems. This is a real deal. We've invested over $1 million in advertising, and we've seen a lot, man. So we have some clients that are spending 6 figures a month in advertising, and they're making a positive ROI on that.
And that's the money that's running through your company, building these ads. So we're
spending that for them.
You're not seeing hundreds of dollars worth of ads or thousands of dollars of ads coming through at a time. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in advertising. So the amount of volume that you see is much higher than, say, somebody who's running, doing anything for a single business even.
Yeah. But the good news is, if you look at what works at a large scale, that's where you can really take little things. Because even if you take one thing that we share, that I'm able to share here, if a gym owner's listening and they take maybe 2 or 3 of the strategies, they implement those, they know that like those are things that actually work. You know what I mean? So that's the thing when you're spending smaller budgets. Say you're only spending a few $100s a week or a month, you're gonna have to spend some money to figure out what works and what doesn't. So that's one way that I'm definitely looking forward to helping your listeners is.
So that might be a mistake. Is I spent $300 on Facebook ads. I didn't get any leads. It didn't work.
Right.
It's like, well, you probably just didn't do the ad right, or
Exactly.
the best way you could have done it.
I would say it's very hard not to get Facebook advertising to work these days because there's 1 billion people. That's 1 billion with a B on Facebook. Okay, so you can literally reach any type of person that you want, and people check their Facebook an average of 20 times a day. So you've got 1 billion people on the platform. People check it an average of 20 times a day. If you can't make that work, look, let's just say it's hard not to make. You know what I'm saying? So,
not calling you stupid or anything.
Look, but that's not really calling people out, gently calling people out in a way, but really it's to say that there's huge possibility with this. And like, if your advertising is not working, it can work. Okay, so don't think that Facebook advertising doesn't work. Like, I will be a messenger to help people understand that it can work for anybody in any market, gym owners included, as long as you do it right. And it's just a process of figuring it out. And it takes patience, it takes discipline, it takes attention to detail, but it can absolutely work.
Yeah, I had a gym owner tell me a few days ago, he's like, oh, Facebook marketing is dead. And I'm like, is it? And he's like, I'm like, how much have you done? And he's like, I've done my fair share. And I said, well, tell me about what you've done. And he's like, well, I've spent like $200 a month now for the last 3 months, and it didn't do anything. And I'm like, okay, so that was a pretty big statement you just made about a very, very small investment. Tell me about your strategy.
Right.
Well, I ran ads to my website. To a landing page? No. To just your homepage? Good talk. All right. Well, that's probably why it didn't work all too well.
Yeah.
And after a 15-minute conversation, he's like, okay, maybe I needed to look at this a little bit differently. And the opportunity was there to very quickly fix what he was doing and get it right on track.
So that's probably mistake number 1 is I'm running Facebook ads just to my homepage.
Yeah, that's definitely a mistake.
So why doesn't that work, and what's a better option?
Yeah, so what you want is a landing page. You definitely want a landing page. I mean, think about it. Think about this in the context of, we're talking to gym owners mostly, right? So think about it in terms of a gym. What you can, when people come to a gym, they walk in the front door, and it looks the same to everyone. Right? It's just a physical location. On the internet, you have greater flexibility because you can customize what people first see when they arrive. So we call that a landing page, where they land, right? So what is awesome and what gets better results than just sending someone to your website, your homepage, is you can make a customized landing page. You can customize that to coordinate with your ad so that there's a connection there. So what you're saying in your ad, you're continuing on the landing page. And that, if you do that, you're going to have better results because there's more consistency and you're custom tailoring the message to the person that lands on that landing page.
Yeah, so landing page is not your homepage.
No.
It's probably even a page that you're not going to click to from your homepage.
Most
This is
likely,
a this is a page that was built specifically to go from the ad to the landing page, and the landing page has a call to action. It has one specific thing you want that person to do when they get there.
Yeah, at least one, sometimes more than one, but mostly that's it. Think of it as like a special offer, specially crafted for the person you're trying to speak to. So the language can speak directly to them. I mean, imagine if you could do that with your gym. The how you could shift the experience that people have once they walk inside. If you could custom tailor exactly what they see when they walk in based on who they are. I mean, that'd be awesome if you could do that in real life. You can't, but you can do it on the internet. So that's definitely what you want to do with your website. Customized landing pages is a must if you want advertising on Facebook that works.
Yeah, that's customizing the copy, the imagery,
Yeah.
like the whole look and feel, the offer itself,
Yeah.
and like really tailoring it specifically to the avatar, the target person you're after, so that you get the highest. The more specific it is, the more effective it's going to be, right? The more generalized something is, the less effective it becomes by default. So make sure that the ad syncs with the copy, and you're targeting a specific type of person with the right kind of offer, so everything lines up and it feels really easy and like specific to them, and they're obviously going to be more likely to take you up on it.
So for a gym owner, at a minimum, would you at least say you should have a campaign specifically for men and specifically for women, like at a minimum?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. If you just do that, if you just start with that, you say, okay, you create 2 landing pages, one for men, one for women, and you specifically speak to what men are looking for, and you specifically speak to what women are looking for, split it out. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. That's a great starting point. Easy to do, too.
Yeah, your conversion is going to be a hell of a lot higher. Like if the advertisement is only being shown to Facebook women, and then it's all women in the images, and the body copy is all about the kind of the classic terms that would be more likely to appeal to women about toning and losing body fat and doing extra cardio and things like that. It's just they're more likely to respond to those things, and then guys classically, they're more concerned about things that center around getting stronger or building muscle mass, etc. Just your conversion on those ads is going to be so much more likely if the messaging is correct and the imaging is correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one suggestion I can give people is grab a magazine, a fitness magazine that's geared towards women. Grab a fitness magazine that's geared towards men. Look at the language on the front. Look at the language on the cover and see what kind of stuff they're saying. So for women, it would be something like slim your tummy or something like that, But if you were to say to guys like, slim your tummy, get a bikini body, that's not going to work out.
Speak for yourself.
With exceptions,
I
certainly.
want a bikini body. I just don't want to have one myself.
It's like, there you go.
Indeed, my friend. Indeed, my friend. So yeah, you definitely want to use language that speaks to the kind of person that you're talking to, and splitting out men and women and targeting them differently is a really good start.
So speaking of targeting, where is for gyms, and they're trying to target, obviously they're limited to their geographical kind of like range. Like, are there any tips or like kind of basics you can give people onto like how to choose the audience and kind of like how to build the right people to target? Because that's another misconception, I think, is that people are like, well, I want to make the audience as big as possible, when really that's not the game. I want it to be as specific as possible, and not just get a bunch of random click-throughs that really they're not even the right candidate. So can you give us a little bit of insight as to how you might approach that for a gym?
Yeah, so one thing you're going to want to do is use age targeting, right? You're going to want to know, say, 10 to 20 block of who your ideal customers are, right? So start with that. If you split out men and women into two different campaigns, that's a good start as well. Obviously, if you're a physical location like a gym, you're going to want to use geographic targeting. So you can type in the zip code, and you can target people in a specific zip code. You can say within 5 miles, within 10 miles, within 20-mile radius or whatever. So that alone will get you pretty far. And then what I would say you want to do on top of that is you don't just want people that are a certain age group, right? You want people who are specifically interested in fitness in some way, right? Maybe they're actively exercising, maybe they're not. But I would say in addition to that, you want to layer on some what's called interest targeting. Right, and that's where Facebook that's something that Facebook essentially invented, and that's changed the game in the digital advertising world. So, for example, if you have a CrossFit gym, you could target men 35 to 55, for example, that are within 15 miles of your zip code, and you could also target people who are specifically interested in CrossFit. So that's someone is about as perfect as it gets as far as like the kind of people that you're reaching. So that if you just take those few things, use that as a checklist: geographic targeting, gender targeting, and age targeting, and then also layer on one interest like that just to get you started, you're going to see some good results from that.
Actually, the age that you picked there, 35, I think that's in my mind. I was actually about to say 35 years old. Like below 35 and above 35 would be like the perfect kind of cutoff point for how you target the messaging to the young crowd and the older crowd.
Okay.
So if you want to keep it simple, I think above and below 35 is an easy way to go.
Yeah, under 35 is the kamikazes. Over 35 is I want to play with my kids.
Yeah, that's right. I want to clean up what I did between 25 and 35.
That's right.
How do I undo everything that I did over the last 10 years?
That's pretty much what happens.
Yep,
They're
totally.
Like, apparently, I'm not bulletproof, and I broke a lot of shit over the last 10 years, and I need to put it back together.
So how does Facebook compare to the other potential options out there, like YouTube ads or Instagram, et cetera? Like, is it easier, harder, better, worse? Like, where's it stand in comparison?
You know, there's a reason why Facebook advertising has become like the number one thing that people talk about as far as internet marketing, and that's because it's the easiest and it is the best. So we do advertising on Google Network as well, YouTube, Instagram, and I can tell you there's it's the easiest to get started. It's also the cheapest, right? Because you can target people in such a specific way. The way it works in the advertising world online is that the more specific you get with your advertising and the more that your message resonates with the people that you're speaking to, this is called click-through rate, which is a way of measuring how many people see your message versus how many people respond and click on your message. The higher your click-through rate, the cheaper your ads. That makes sense? Simple, right? So that means the better your ad performs, the cheaper your advertising is. And there's nobody in history that's ever been able to allow us to reach people better than Facebook because they know everything about you. They have 150 data points on average of every single user. The government, when they're investigating someone, they give Facebook subpoenas to give people to get information on people. It's like some craziness going on.
I heard the CIA is running Facebook.
Zuckerberg's a plant.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, all that, the point being with all that is just that it's Facebook probably knows more about people than any organization ever has in history.
Probably knows more about you than you know about you.
It does. They do. They do. Like you can target people who are like interested in purchasing a vehicle in the next 6 months. It's crazy. There's a category on Facebook for targeting for health and wellness buyers. Right. So there's a tip. Like if you go into your Facebook ads and you want to test something, type into the targeting parameters, type in health and wellness buyers. And there's a group of, I think it's like 5 or 6 million people that are known to purchase health and wellness products in the US.
That's helpful.
Dang, that's a gangster tip.
That kind of thing's not available.
We're using that one.
Yeah, that kind of thing's not available on YouTube. That kind of thing's not available on the other advertising platforms. So I think you can tell I'm just a big fan of it, and I believe in it in a major way.
Well, it's also good because the ability to niche down that much and figure it out, that's one of the things that makes it cheaper is the more specific you can be about who you want to reach, it's going to get cheaper because you're going to have less people competing for that same person.
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, it allows you to get so dialed into the individual. And if you're building out avatars like we've suggested, finding that perfect member and then speaking directly to them and then creating these Facebook ads specifically for that type of person, then that's a great way to like figure out exactly how to do your messaging.
So as far as like the ads themselves, like what are the key characteristics of an ad that performs really, really well?
Okay, so when it comes to the actual ad, and let's just say the campaign in general, the two biggest factors that are going to affect the performance are going to be the audience, which we've talked about, that's your targeting, and the image. Okay, so a lot of people think that it's the copy, and that plays a role, but the image plays a much bigger role. Because people in the newsfeed, think about someone when they're in the Facebook newsfeed, or when you're scrolling the newsfeed, like you're kind of scrolling through things pretty quickly. And if something jumps out at you, tend to just kind of stop on it, right? So the best kind of images are the ones that are bright and kind of stand out. So we like another tip I can give the listeners, anyone running Facebook advertising, if you use vector images, those tend to outperform anything right now. So I don't know how much longer that's going to work, but by vector images, we mean like illustrations or like cartoon type of like drawings. And for some reason, those outperform, like I said, just about anything. So we've done tests where we've had like this image, say image of a couple or something, right? And we've run that, and then we've also tested against that, almost the exact same image, but it's just like a drawing instead. And we've seen double the performance of that ad. So try to find things that stand out a little bit and are not the typical stock photo image. If you guys know what I'm talking about, like that photo of like the man or the woman that just looks so fake and so
It's
posed.
like a girl eating a salad, smiling way too big.
Oh my God! It's so
It still says like Getty stock on it or
yeah.
whatever.
They screenshotted it. Didn't even buy it.
Yeah.
So you're saying like a cartoon style image? You're not talking about like a graphically designed advertisement image that's like get 25% off your next order. Click here today. That type of thing. You're talking about like a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Where would someone get a cartoon? You have to draw your own cartoons?
Go to Google. Go to Google. Type in whatever your keyword is. So let's say it's couple of image, and then add the word in either illustration or vector.
Okay.
VECTOR, and you're gonna see all kinds of images. You can you can click over to Google Images, and you'll see hundreds and hundreds of images. Some of them free, some of them you
Yeah, I was gonna say like royalty free images. Would you want to type that in too, or how do you know you can use an image legally?
Yeah, so there's laws on that, but it gets a little bit complicated. I would just say find a website that sells images. If you just Google what I'm saying, you'll see those will pop up, and you'll click through, and you can purchase the images, and they usually be $1 or $2 to purchase one of these images.
Cool, so they're pretty cheap.
That's the legal, legit way to do it, and that's definitely because you don't want people coming after you for using their images.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the image is what gets noticed, but as far as like body copy, what kinds of things work well? Is it like free trials or discounts or download this free thing or the kind of the classic like the 3 tips video or the 7 tips video, like those types of things? Like what have you seen that works really well?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the actual content of the ad for a little bit, and it's worth spending a little bit of time on. So have something called the tree of trust. Okay, so think of this as like the Facebook advertising tree of trust, and this is how you want to think about what guides your messaging. So first part of the tree is you plant a seed, and then the seed grows roots. The roots turn into a trunk. The trunk grows branches, then leaves, right? And then what happens? Bears fruit, right? This is when you make money from your advertising. So that paints a little picture and also makes a point about online advertising, which is that it's a process, not an event. You don't just plant a seed and then boom, fruit, it bears fruit. So you want to think of this in a sequential manner, right? So what the way you craft your message is by thinking about where is this person in that process, right?
Okay.
So is this the first contact? First contact, just to connect it here, would be the planting that seed. They've never heard of you. They've never seen you. They don't know anything about you. That's planting the seed. So what you want to do at that phase in your content is you want to educate them. You want to give value, right? You want to ask. You want to give before you ask, right? That's how you build the right relationship. So in that sense, first contact, when we're planting seeds, we want something that's education. That's when you would do something like 5 workout tips, or something that's going to help them. Think about what their problems and frustrations are. Think about what your knowledge is that can help them. Tips that you give people, take 5 of those tips, put them in a video, then you've planted this first seed. So that's going to be.
So you run a Facebook ad that goes directly to that video, and then what? What's the next stage there?
Yeah. So let's say that you either write that into a blog post, or let's just take that example because I was going to get into video, but that can be a little bit more difficult for people. So let's go with just keeping it fundamental. So let's say that you have a blog post. The blog post is 5 workout tips, 5 ways to work out without hurting yourself. Okay, Let's just go with that. So that's a blog.
That's for the over 35 people.
This is for the over 35 people. Yeah. So you put that on your blog. You put that on your blog, on your website. It's just a page on your website, and in the ad, you would just advertise that blog post, right? So literally the headline of that ad would be exactly the same as a blog post.
Mhm.
Five tips to work out without hurting yourself,
Mhm.
and that would be the actual headline. And then in the body copy of the ad itself, you would just put a little sample of what the blog post is.
I think
and
that's
get
a
them
really
to click over.
I think it's a really key point that you just
Yeah.
said about how the ad copy and then you actually go to the blog and
Yeah.
post in this example and the headline on the blog are the same. Like a lot of people get this is like an alignment issue where they say, the five tips to work out without hurting yourself, and then they
Yeah.
get to the blog and it's like, 5 tips to be injury free in your training. It's not the same thing, even though those
Yeah.
are really, really close.
Yeah.
Like there's an alignment issue where they came here for one thing, and then when they got there, it was slightly different for some reason. And maybe like the emotional hot button thing that they read that really triggered them to click the ad in the first place. When they got to the blog, all of a sudden like it's not worded the same, and they're kind of like, oh, well, that's not what I came here for. So making the messaging match is really, really important in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it is, and you'll see better results the more aligned the message is.
Mhm.
So that's another mistake to avoid. And if you're creating custom landing pages like we talked about, you can do that easily, right? You can test different headlines. Maybe 5 workout tips, 5 tips to work out without hurting yourself. You can test that against a different headline, which is like 5 workout tips for losing weight. Maybe that one outperforms, right? But then you have 2 different blog posts on your website,
Mhm.
and the ad goes to the corresponding landing page. So
Mhm.
that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pomodoro break.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
We learned this on our Barbell Shrugged show with Teresa and Anders. Pomodoro break.
Mhm.
Be back in a moment.
Hey, I'm Rick, owner and head coach here at Aliso CrossFit in Aliso Viejo, California. In the beginning, when we were first considering bringing on Barbell Logic, I would say the biggest thing we were struggling with was systemizing what we were doing in our business. We had a lot of great things and great programs, great back-end procedures, but nothing was really systemized to work as one. So we were kind of looking for a solution for that, and we came across Barbell Logic. Yeah, initially my biggest reservation at the time was the cost. Looking at the cost, I was struggling to decide whether it was right for what we were doing. And after having some initial conversations with Markus and going through what the system was all about, very detailed, kind of in-depth review of what we were doing in our business, really showed me that the system was customizable to specifically what we were doing here. And he was really able to show the value in it. And it's like anything else we do in business. If you want something that's valuable, whether it's a product or service, typically there's going to be a higher price tag associated with it. But now, after we've been using it for about a year now, it's totally worth it, completely worth it. It's a great system. From August of last year to now, we've increased our membership roster by about 34 new members gross, so that's 34 more than we had last year. Our revenue has gone up probably about 10%. And the biggest thing that I've noticed is the time and efficiency that it's saved me and allowed me to focus in other areas of the business to do things like marketing and engaging with the members. And I'm even back on the coaching floor now, which I really, really do enjoy. But I can do those kinds of things because the back-end admin work at this point is cut down to probably about 30 to 45 minutes a day for me, which in the past it could have been 4 to 5 hours. So something specific about Barbell Logic is that their team is focused on functional fitness and the CrossFit business. They are box owners, they are CrossFitters, they understand what our demographic is looking for. The content that they create is amazing. The way that they use it and the schedule that they use to engage it or to send it out to the members and engage both the current members and your prospects is very relatable. It makes sense. The content gets opened, it gets read, and then my members come back and reference it to me. So I know that what they're putting out there is definitely relevant to our customer base as affiliate owners. Since we brought on the Barbell Logic system, I feel like I've been able to become a better leader and head coach for the gym. I've really been able to get engaged more with the members without having to worry about all the admin stuff on the back end that I was before and really having that time minimized now. I feel like my role as a leader and a head coach has been greatly impacted in a positive way since we brought on the system.
Welcome back. We're here with Bren talking about Facebook ads. I don't know why you would have missed the first part of this, but
I hope you
If
didn't.
somehow you did,
he's been dropping bombs. It's been great.
Some people only watch the second half of the show.
they hit
Yeah.
play and
I don't know
immediately
why.
fast forward.
I think I was going back to like my radio days, and I was like, not that I was on the radio.
I was like,
wait,
"You're
what?"
on the radio? I've
No
known you for like
shit.
10 years. Didn't know that.
All those years of listening to DJs.
Uh,
Oh, if you missed the first segment.
Back when people used to listen to the radio.
Yeah.
The good
Yeah.
old days.
Yeah.
Oh my! Have you heard the radio recently?
Sometimes, rarely.
Dude, was it? We got in an Uber car.
Mm.
Marcus and I got stuck in Houston, Texas. And we hopped in this Uber, and we hop in the car, and the guy was like, "You guys want to listen to music?" We were like, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you got?" And he was like, "Well, I got AM radio."
So flipping through the stations, he's all, "What's your pleasure?" We're like, "Wait, what? Did you have like an aux jack or something that we can plug this in?" He's like, "No."
Yeah, he treated us like we were crazy for thinking we could plug our phones into his radio. It's a brand new car.
Yeah.
One of those smart cars.
Yeah.
One of those little smart cars in Houston, Texas. No.
A little out of place.
Yeah, I was like, we're about to get killed.
Well, and we just came from a steakhouse where it was like this big for the steak. Everything was huge scale. And we get into this like mini little car leaving the place. It's pretty badass. We looked really cool.
Best Uber ride of all time.
All right, so we'll jump back into this. One of the obvious benefits of digital marketing is that everything's measurable, and you can
Yes.
really tell if it's working or if it's not working. So
Yeah.
can you jump into that? Like what are the
Yeah.
benefits and ways that you can measure your ROI?
Yeah, this is a great segue, accidental segue, because think about, let's go with the radio thing, for example. Think about in the past, how it worked if you were going to advertise. You would put your message, you could put your commercial, your marketing on the radio, and how do you know who listens to it? How do you know who actually got it, whether they liked it, whether it worked or didn't work? You were always guessing. And so the promise of digital advertising, the gem of digital advertising, is that it is results based, and it's fully accountable. So you can know exactly what's happening, what's working, what's not working, and you can turn up what's working and turn down what's not. And you do that enough, and you can scale up a campaign and grow your business literally with the touch of a button, just turning up that dial. That's what we do. So that's the biggest thing that makes digital advertising different. And that's also the thing that's completely revolutionized the advertising world, is that it is now fully accountable and fully results based. At least it can be if you do it right.
So I know some people, they're thinking about doing a campaign. They might
Yeah.
put out 3 or 4 or 5 different ads and then see which 1 or 2 perform the best,
Yeah.
cancel the ones that didn't work quite as well, put
Yeah.
all the money into ones that did work well, and then start split testing and optimizing those ads to get the best result for the money spent. You know, how do you guys do it as far as optimizing advertisements?
Yeah. So a few fundamentals on this. So if you're launching a Facebook advertising campaign, you're going to want to start with multiple ads, just like you said, right? Let's say that we'll carry through the example, right? Let's say you're starting at the bottom. This is your first interaction, and you are advertising a blog post because you want to offer value before you pitch your stuff. Okay, so this is the blog post that is the 5 workout tips. Now, you're going to advertise that ad, and let's say you keep the copy exactly the same, and let's say you change the image. So when you're split testing ads, launch with multiple ads, like you said, because it's like putting more horses in the race. So launch with, I'd say, 4. We like to start with 4 in the beginning. You can get super complicated with this. A lot of people, they'll launch like 20, 30, 40 ads. But if your budget is small, and you want to start with a small budget to start with, less than $100. Let's say it's $20 a day or something like that, because you're just testing small and then scaling big is the name of the game. So when you're testing small, if you spend $20 a day, you're not even going to be able to. All of those ads are not even going to be able to show if there's more than 4 or 5. So start with 4 ads and start with 4 different images. Keep the copy exactly the same. And then once you do that, then go to phase 2, which is going to be testing the actual copy. So in that phase, you're going to know which image works because you tested 4 different ones. So you run it for a week, and then take the one that performs the best, and then test 4 different versions of copy. So, for example, 5 workout tips tips to work out without hurting yourself, or 5 tips to work out for losing weight, etc. Pick different angles. So that would be a testing strategy that gets you through week 1 and week 2, and allows you to figure out what image is going to perform the best, and also what copy is going to perform the best.
Yeah, the fact that you can do that so easily is actually really good news, especially if you're not an advertising professional. Like, even if you are, it's very hard to know really what's going to work. Like, it's still a little bit of a guessing game, but especially if you've never done it before, it's actually really nice. You can put out 3 or 4 or 5 different ideas, and then you don't have to actually know which one's going to work. You can just put it out there and then look at the numbers after a few days and be like, oh, well, this one's obviously performing the best. We'll use that one. Yeah. And then that way you don't have to play this guessing game of is it working, is it not working. You can just throw out a bunch of ideas and then just follow the data.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we've experienced that a lot where we get discussing, and I've discussed this with other business owners, where like, I think this ad's going to work. I'm like, cool. Just test it. Like, I mean, we could guess and have theories all day, and we should test all these things out. These are all good ideas. But we can attach numbers to these in 1 week. We test it for 1 week. Now we actually know. Yes, it worked or it didn't. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, too, because this is a fully accountable world where everything is tracked and measured, unlike traditional advertising.
It's not Mad Men anymore.
It is not Mad Men anymore. No, it's not about this, like, amazing idea. Like, you can literally you can say, let's think of every single possible angle and test all of them and figure out exactly the one that's going to resonate with people. So because it is fully accountable, we're wrong. Sometimes we're wrong because we can test so many things. So even the best professionals are sometimes wrong. And like, I love being proven wrong. Like, we're trying to get proven wrong. So we'll launch a test and we'll say, how can we try to prove ourselves wrong? And the next day we'll look at the test, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. But like, because of that, sometimes people get a little uncomfortable. They got an ego thing going on because they want to be right. So the best attitude, exactly. So the best attitude is actually to flip that. Like, let go of the need to try to be right and just come at this from a place of humility and say, okay, let's open up our mind and see if we can just understand that people respond to different things, and we got to put a lot of stuff out there to see what people respond to the most.
Yeah, you're like an advertising scientist constantly running experiments.
That's it.
Well, that's a good point. I know, I used to be this way a lot. I mean, I think everyone's still this way to a degree, which is, oh, this message is exactly what I want it to be. Yeah. No, that's right. This isn't right. I don't want it to sound like this. This sounds too cheesy, or this sounds too this or that. And I think a lot of times it's tough to let go of, this is exactly how I want things to be worded, because this is my perspective on the world, and this should be right, when everything you think is not truth, is not true. And so coming to terms with that being a thing, and then saying, yeah, I need to speak to what is true for other people, and kind of letting go of that. And then the tests, it can teach you that specifically, like you're saying, if you can kind of set the ego aside.
Yep. Yeah, Facebook advertising that works is not about you. It's about them. It's about the person you're talking to. So that's the thing to keep in mind, and that can be difficult, but it makes you more money. So just ask yourself, do you want to make more money? You want to make less money?
It's the same thing we talk about with websites, right? It's like the people who build websites,
think about this.
Websites that are built for the gym, because the gym owner thinks it looks cool, can be completely irrelevant to the audience they're trying to serve. Yeah. And the guy's like, I built the most badass website. It doesn't resonate with the type of people they can actually serve, but the gym owner loves it. It's like, well, this tool is now not serving its purpose. Yeah. Same thing with the ads, right? They'll write the copy, or they'll choose an image where like, this totally represents it, and just roll. They'll just die on the vine because that's what they chose, rather than doing what you're talking about, which is just, let's put it out there, let's see how it performs. Yeah. And if it doesn't perform, it's out. If it does, great, I was right, pat myself on the back, but that's it. Move on. Next layer of testing. So
it's so important to mention, man. It's so important to mention. This is a new world of advertising, right? It is not like, I'll draw a distinction here. This is not image-based advertising. That's the old way of doing things. The new way of doing things is performance-based advertising. So that's the distinction, right? It's based on what works and what doesn't, not based on who you want people to think you are, right? Now, branding is important. That's what people call branding, is your reputation and your desired perception. As my friend Reed Perez says, he's a branding expert. Desired perception is your brand, right? Which you can keep that in mind, but at the same time, and it's important to know what that is, right? But that's secondary.
Well, and that could be a filter.
Yeah.
You could still do what you're talking about, do the performance stuff through the filter of the brand. Yeah. Test within that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I think the brand is important, but it's not it's not the only thing should be focused on.
Yeah,
it's just a filter.
Yeah, and I think that's important to mention as well, because you want to be within integrity. You don't like in any way want to put something out that doesn't fit something that you believe in. But to me, it goes without saying, right? Like, you need to bring integrity to what you're doing. I'm assuming that people have that. But yeah, so think about what what would be within integrity for you and your brand and your message, and then test different types of angles, messages within those bounds. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and on that note, there's in our industry, because of the nature of CrossFit and our training, it's kind of it's kind of frowned upon, or is often frowned upon by a lot of kind of more hardcore like coaches and gym owners about it being about body composition, when they're like, yeah, but what we're doing is about performance and making people stronger, fitter, faster. And it's like, yeah, but if you ask your clients why they're there, and they say, and 80% of them say it's because of how this makes me look. Like, yes, I like all that stuff, but I do this because it makes me look good, which makes me feel good, and that's why I'm your client. Then don't shy away from necessarily something that may be more body composition based, if that's what your clients are buying from you. Just because you're like, well, but I'm not doing this, it's not bodybuilding, that's okay. You don't have to use a bodybuilding image, but using some pictures that are going to resonate and copy and ad campaigns in general that are going to be gearing towards that, because that's who you can actually serve, then do that, right? But that's a big issue people have with advertising in our industry. Is this what I've seen?
Totally.
So if I can continue the example. So you said week 1, we're testing first the image, then we're testing the text, right? So now we've got this pretty refined blog post ad. What's next?
Next, you want to move on to testing audiences. Right, so remember I said the 2 biggest factors that are going to affect the performance of your ad campaign on Facebook are the image and the audience. Okay, so you have to test audiences. Right? If you don't test audiences, your campaigns are going to suffer. So absolutely test audiences. This is a good time to do it in week 3. Once you've tested copy and you've tested images. To be clear, week 1, week 2, we've picked one audience, and we've tested different images and ads in that one audience. Week 3, we're going to pick 4 different audiences, and we're going to test that one ad that we've found as the winner after the first 2 weeks, and we're going to take that audience and we're going to run that same ad to 4 different audiences. So let's say it's CrossFit Gym. We can target people who are interested. Let's go with like the health and wellness buyers. That's one audience, right? People who like CrossFit. That's another audience. Let's see if we can come up with another one.
Like Spartan races.
And Spartan races would be another awesome. Yeah, another one. And then let's go with for number 4. Let's pick a broad interest. So health and fitness. There's an interest on Facebook targeting that you can use called health and fitness, and these are people that are interested. They just group together people who are interested in all different types of health and fitness. It's a broad interest as opposed to a specific interest like CrossFit, and sometimes those perform better. So there's an example of 4 audiences that you could test for a business like this, and that's what you're going to do in this week of testing after you test the image and the ad.
So once we got the image dialed, we got the copy dialed, we've got the audience dialed. What is this blog post doing? Because this is still the seed stage, right? So what would be kind of the next evolution?
Yeah, so you want to move up the tree. So you planted the seed, and next thing you want to do is think, what's the next step? Right? What's the next step? So if you have a gym, how is it that you make the sale? And we talked about this in the mastermind. We came up with some funnel ideas. So one thing that we talked about there, which is an awesome idea I love, is testimonials. Okay, so if you have there was an example of a guy who had people who's members of his gym for like 20 years or something like that. The Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
Los Angeles.
It was like 12 years or something like that.
Yeah, he had people that 12 years or something like. They've been member of his gym for 10 years plus. So let's say the idea we came up with was filming a video with this gym member that's loves the gym, been going there every day for 10 years, and have him talk about what he loves about working out there. Okay, so I would say if you're the gym owner, you're the face of the brand, right? Tee up the video, open the video with you, introduce yourself. This is when you introduce yourself to the prospect. So you're going to say, "Hi, my name is. I'm the owner and the founder of such and such gym, and this is John, and he's been a member of our gym for the past 10 years. He's going to tell you a few things he loves about working out here." And next thing you know is John talking about why he loves working out there, why he's been a member for 10 years. Tell a story or two. Storytelling is the best possible thing you could do in a sales situation, because people can sort of envision themselves in that environment, and they can see that it's real. So that would be a next step along the tree, where we're going from educating the person and offering value first, and then now we're starting to kind of warm people up to the idea of actually purchasing, becoming a member of the gym, spending money on you.
So at the end of this video, would you suggest that there's a direct call to action, like schedule your free session?
Yeah.
Or is this something that you're taking to a landing page, or is this really just another nurturing tool where it's just like they're going to see the video and once they've seen this video that I'm going to retarget or take them to the next step?
Yeah. Okay. So you want to think about it every step first and foremost as education-based marketing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So think about what you're doing as giving people value first, always. Right? So first we gave value and we're teaching people about the topic, which is fitness. But once we do that, then we want to move from teaching people how to work out to teaching people how to be your customer, right? And the way that you do that is by, communicating with them in helping them wrap their head around the questions that they have. So instead of the questions, think about this. If you want to think about the best way to do this, think about what questions they have about fitness. That's how you craft the marketing in the first stages. And then the later stages we're talking about now, think about the questions they'd have if they were interested in buying, right? And so when you use an example, the reason why I use the example of the guy who's one of your best customers, 10 years gym member, is because he's going to talk about that naturally. Okay. But another way to do it is you could say frequently asked questions. So the next ad after the guy talking about why he loves the gym could be, here's 10 questions. Here's our 10 frequently asked questions. People that are interested in signing up. Number one, how much does it cost? Number two, what makes your gym different? Like think about the questions that you get asked the most frequently when someone's in the process of buying from you. You can call those sales objections. But really they're just questions that people need answered in order for them to say yes. And put that content into a video or put that content into your landing page, or both, ideally, is what you want. And use your marketing in that way to kind of educate them on what they need to know in order to be able to say yes. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, we actually did it. We kind of condensed those in something we did for our gym, where we had the testimonial. We asked him to, like in the videos, the questions we asked drew out those unspoken objections that people tended to have about, the value, about, how fun or how safe, or the common issues that tend to be going through people's minds where they're like, I'm not sure. We just had them address that in the testimonial video as they told the story. And that was actually the first step. Like that in that video, it was both steps 2 and 3, I guess, in the funnel. So we could actually educate them on those unspoken objections through the testimonial and then move them forward.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's the way to do it. And if you always think about it in terms of educating people, as opposed to trying to pitch them, try to sell them, try to get them to buy, you're going to craft better marketing on Facebook. Because if you think about it, why are people on Facebook? They're interacting with their friends, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to speak with them in language that you would speak to a friend in. Whether you're talking in your videos or you're making Facebook posts or you're making Facebook ads, use language, the same type of language, speak in the same way that you would talk to a friend, as opposed to something that's like filled with hype and like really trying to convince someone of something. So there's a distinction between compelling and convincing. Okay, and that's what I believe we're talking about here, is being more compelling. Compelling is kind of like drawing people in to what you do by helping them, as opposed to trying to push them into something, which would be more convincing. So you stay on the side of compelling and you'll do better on Facebook 100% of the time. Yeah.
All right. Next step. Any next steps?
Next step would be retargeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So
give us the quick version of that.
Yeah. So you probably heard of retargeting. If not, retargeting is, we've been talking about targeting. So retargeting is just a way of saying this is how to follow up with people. So think about someone, let's say you go to purchase something online. Everyone's pretty much seen this. Amazon's a really good example. If you go on Amazon, I know this happens to me all the time. I go to say I'm interested in buying something, I don't actually purchase it. A day or two later, I'm on Facebook and I see an ad for that same product that I was looking at. and it's basically like saying like, hey, you want to come back and finish what you started. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so it happens all the time, and it's all over the internet. And the technology is new technology to be able to track people's behavior and to craft your marketing message based on their behavior is more advanced form of Facebook advertising and digital advertising. And what you want to do at that stage is you want to craft specific messages to those people. So think about someone who made it to your website, saw the content, got educated, saw the testimonial video, but they just were kind of on the fence, right? They're just not quite there yet.
And by the way, this is usually the best ROI. Like once someone's been to your website and then you start retargeting them on Facebook,
Yeah.
those are the best customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because they're the most qualified people. They're the people, like at this point, it becomes more and more about just helping people say yes that already want to, as opposed to trying to, convince them of anything. And that's the lowest hanging fruit. So a lot of times if we're launching a campaign for a client, we'll start with retargeting because that's where a lot of the low hanging fruit is, the easy opportunities are on a website. So
if someone's already been to your website, they've already shown that they're interested.
Yeah.
Like they didn't end up on your website for no reason.
Yeah.
They came there for one reason or another. They probably want to get in shape.
Absolutely.
So how does retargeting work? People have probably heard of pixels.
Yeah, Facebook pixels. Yeah, this can be a point of confusion, frustration, agony, but it's there's a lot of.
Do you get a lot of customers that are just like, I want to do this, but this pixel thing is confusing?
Yeah, people get frustrated with it all the time. So our solution is we just set everything up for them, and that way there's no frustration. So what you want to do is, if you want to set this up for yourself, there's plenty of tutorials out there that explain this really simply, and don't get intimidated by the tech behind this, because literally pixel is a piece of code, and all piece of code is just like a string of characters and letters and numbers. That's it. Okay, so all you're going to do to place a pixel is you're just going to go into your ad account and you're going to copy this piece of code and you're going to paste it onto a certain place on your website. So I'd say just look up some tutorials on that, how to place a Facebook pixel. YouTube has all kinds of testimonial tutorials rather. So follow the steps, the simple process, and you need that in order to do retargeting, because you need to be able to track the behavior of the people that visit your website. So that's step one. Step two would be crafting the message in a way that follows up with people and takes the behavior that they've taken or not taken into consideration.
So just to clarify, the pixel is just something that we're going to, a little snippet of code that we're going to embed on that landing page or on that blog post or wherever we've been sending people to, right, to see that they actually went there, so that we know, okay, check, they actually went and they saw this. Now we know we can send them the next set of content or ads to say maybe, hey, come on in for a free intro, or check out a Saturday class, or something now maybe more direct, like you said, to help them kind of push over, because clearly they've not checked you out once or twice. So now great, they've already made a connection, so let's make an offer for them and see if they can bite. Yeah, that'd be a good way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that I would say, before you even get started, definitely get the pixel code place. So it's something you got to have on your website, and it's what allows you to track the behavior of the people that visit. Yeah.
Cool. So if I can kind of shift gears here then real quick. This is obviously, there's a lot that goes into this, and really kind of crafting a strategy and really kind of wrapping your head around what your objectives even are. And this, you had mentioned this when you did the mastermind. This is actually something pretty unique. Like, you don't just do it for people, but you also will like set it up for people and show them how to use it or teach them how to do it. Like you said, you can kind of like coach them. So you've got some pretty unique ways to do it.
Yeah.
How can people learn more about what you do and maybe get on the phone with you and get a conversation going?
Yeah, so we have two services that we offer. One's a done-for-you service, and that's where we take care of everything. And that's limited to people who are already advertising on Facebook, and they just want us to take over and manage it. Okay, so if you are someone who's interested in that, contact me. We're limited in bandwidth for that because we can only manage so many people's accounts. But if you're interested, reach out to me for that. What I think would be relevant to most people on the podcast here are people who are getting started, or maybe they've just spent like less than $100 on advertising, and that's our done with you service. So we'll basically coach you, help you through getting started, placing the pixel code, crafting those first few ads, and that's something that we offer as well. So if you're interested in that, I'd like to make a special offer for your listeners, which is a free 15-minute strategy session. So if you're listening to this and you're interested and you want to get started, reach out to me. Send me an email. I'll put my email out there, which is bren@impactdigital.co. That's bren@impactdigital.co. And just send me a message, mention Barbell Business, and we'll offer you a free 15-minute strategy session. We'll talk to you about your advertising, talk to you about your goals, and see if it's a fit for working together.
And if you're driving down the road, you can just go to barbellbusiness.com and check out today's podcast. In the show notes, we're going to have Bren's email address and website and all that stuff. So you can just click it and go from there. This will be episode 140.
140.
Yep.
All right. So check it out, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, Bren.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Bren.
Appreciate it.
See you, dude.